Hey everyone, it's Peek. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Pokemon Unite video today. Mamoswine came out a little bit earlier than expected. Usually new Pokemon come out at midnight, but this one came out like right at the daily reset. So very cool. Maybe this sets a precedent. I guess we will get new Pokemon at the time of the daily reset. We'll just see. But of course, Mamoswine, like all new Pokemon thus far, is 8,000 Aeos coins and 460 Aeos gems if you want to buy it with gems. So, of course, I've been saving my coins, especially for Mamoswine, Gen 4 being my favorite gen. Mamoswine is actually quite up there in terms of my favorite Pokemon. Now, defenders aren't usually my cup of tea, but there's a few things that make Mamoswine extremely cool, especially for people who may not have played a lot of defenders before, or who just enjoy a more aggressive playstyle. Mamoswine is definitely that kind of character. Its entire kit revolves around like just being aggressive, being in the enemy's faces, and it has some really good CC tricks that you can actually do, a lot of which I'm going to showcase near the end of the video, so stay tuned definitely to see some different tricks you can do with Ice Shard and Ice Fang and stuff like that. So really excited to showcase this character. Let's get into my recommended build and just talk about the items as well as what every ability does. So in terms of what Mamoswine does best, obviously it is a defender, and let's just take a look at its stats here. At level 15, it has some pretty solid defensive stats. And especially considering its passive, it's probably one of the more tanky Pokemon in the game in terms of raw defenses. Obviously, its HP is a little bit lower than, say, a Snorlax, who has just about 9.9k HP. Mamoswine does have a little bit less, but the defenses are pretty on par with Snorlax's, of course, a little bit less. However, if you look, and first of all, this is the first thing we're going to talk about, is Mamoswine's passive. Actually, the more you're doing damage, the more you're getting stacks of your passive, which stack up to 3 times, which is an increase in defense and special defense. So essentially, like, you can be this aggressive CC tank just in enemies' faces with about the same defensive stats as a Snorlax once you've stacked up your passive. So really good. In terms of the attack, it's pretty solid. Again, just to compare to Snorlax, we're looking at Snorlax having 345 attack and Mamoswine having 325. So you will notice that you don't do super duper a lot of damage like you would on a defender such as Blastoise, who is notorious for insane amounts of damage. But Mamoswine's whole MO is really just doing a bunch of CC, being in enemies' faces, and getting picks depending on what moveset you use. For like Ice Fang and Earthquake, it's a really good thing to just get in, pull out an enemy, and you can even do a little combo, which I'll show you later. Whereas if you're going like Icicle Crash and high horsepower, it's more of like I'm going to control a space, a defined space, whether that be a goal, an objective as Mamoswine, and these abilities really allow you to play in a little bit of diverse situations. I'll tell you which one's my favorite, and that's just Ice Fang Earthquake, but that's just because of personal preference. I think there's some really cool things you can do it, which again, I'll show you near the end of the video once we kind of show these moves actually, but I just kind of want to talk about what everything does, because it's definitely more on the complex side. I know it says intermediate in terms of complexity in game, but there are things that you need to know about Mamoswine's kit that like normally you probably wouldn't have to think about as much playing other Pokemon such as like, you know, Cinderace or stuff. I mean, you still have to think about the passive, but yeah. So anyway, one thing you want to know is that regardless of when it happens, Mamoswine's third basic attack, which is the boosted auto attack, of course, freezes enemies. So that's just incredibly good. Like an AoE freeze on an auto attack is of course extremely powerful. Boosted autos on certain Pokemon in this game are very strong, and I think personally this is probably one of the better ones we've seen thus far. Mamoswine's basic attacks deal increased damage for a short time to enemies it has recently frozen with one of its moves. So once you freeze a Pokemon with your moves, that's when you're going to start doing more like Blastoise levels of damage, even as a defender, right? So you're rewarded for aggressively playing up and aggressively freezing enemies, because your auto attacks are actually going to do a lot more damage. I mean, not a lot more. You'll see like it depends on obviously how much you're leveling, a decent portion of your attack, but not by much. But it is a solid increase, of course. So you definitely want to be auto attacking enemies that are frozen as much as possible, because that will just allow you as Mamoswine to be doing the most damage possible. So in my opinion, the best items for a Mamoswine are going to be your Focus Band, your Muscle Band, and your Score Shield. I know there's no Buddy Barrier here, of course. You can use it, right? You can. I don't think Mamoswine gets as much benefit out of Buddy Barrier as it does from Focus Band, however. Being a Pokemon that evolves at level 10 makes taking Buddy Barrier really difficult to justify, because getting your Unite move at level 10 is often very difficult. And if you're behind in a game, which of course I mean, you can't always be winning. You can't always be super ahead. You can't always get every single Dreadnought. Sometimes you won't get level 10 until like the last few minutes of a match, in which case you're going to get one usage out of Buddy Barrier. I think where Mamoswine shines is actually just like playing for its team, being aggressive, and there's no better item that allows you to do that as much as Focus Band. So in my opinion, Focus Band, of course, Muscle Band for some extra attack speed, because your boosted auto attack is the most important thing, probably in this entire kit. The ability to freeze Pokemon, if you have more attack speed, you are freezing Pokemon more with your boosted auto attack. And of course, Score Shield gives you a little bit of more HP, and again, rewards Mamoswine's aggressive playstyle. I do think these are the best items. I think you could swap out Buddy Barrier for either Muscle Band or Focus Band, but I mean, maybe even Score Shield. But I think honestly the core item for Mamoswine is Focus Band. I think you really want that. So if this is your character, consider using your level 30 item enhancers on the Focus Band, because I think you will literally get the most benefit out of that item. That extra little bit of defense, special defense, as well as the clutch healing is really going to allow you to play aggressively and do what you need to do as Mamoswine. So of course, here we are in the practice area. This is my favorite spot to show you guys everything about new Pokemon, and we're going to start with Ice Shard. So Ice Shard is a really cool move. I'm just going to turn the cooldowns off entirely. The cooldowns generally for, and I can even show you here real quick. The cooldowns generally for Mamoswine are pretty decent. Some of them are kind of long. Like if you look at Ice Shard, that is a 7-second cooldown, 10-second for Crash, 8-second for Fang. You got 8 seconds for Tackle, 8 seconds for high horsepower, and 7.5 seconds for Earthquake. So none of these upgraded moves look like they actually give a decreased cooldown. So I do expect this character to kind of suffer from not having its cooldowns very often. Like a character that needs to aggressively go in and make a play really benefits from a character like, I don't know, like Mr. Mime, for example. Having skill swap on such a low, like, what is it, 4.5 second cooldown is really good. But for a character like this, I don't know, these are pretty long cooldowns actually, so just keep that in mind. Use your cooldowns wisely, make sure you're gonna hit them, and it's you know, it can be hard to hit these, so we're gonna kind of show you ways that to do these consistently, and there's little tricks you can do. So let's just swap back over here so I can show you what Ice Shard and Tackle do. These are the first moves. Of course, Ice Shard gives you 3 chunks of ice at a designated location. And a neat thing about Piloswine, Mamoswine, Swinub that you can do is actually, it's a very unique interaction that only this character can do, and why it's actually kind of why I think this character might actually be one of the best point holders, if not the best, in the game. So you'll see here, if I launch some ice onto my point here, there's a frozen animation above the goal ring. You see that, like, the blue ring's actually frozen. So what this means is it actually takes opponents longer to score in that goal. So it basically, it increases the amount of time it takes for opponents to score. So they will actually score slower. But essentially, that is one of the unique interactions of all of Mamoswine's freeze moves. Any move that applies freeze in a ground targeted ice area like this, you can basically freeze your own goal, and it makes it harder for enemies to score. So if, you know, it's the last few minutes of the game, enemies are hitting up their score shield and just stacking on the point, you definitely want to throw your ice onto your goal, so you freeze that goal, you make it harder for enemies to score, and you can see it lasts, like, I don't know, a pretty decent chunk of time. So that basically makes it so it's just harder for them to score. So when you land all 3 hits of Ice Shard, of course, you will freeze the Apom there. You'll freeze the target that you're hitting in the area. If you hit multiple things, you can see both the Vespiquen and the Slowbro are going to be frozen. So it's really, really good in lane, obviously. You can hit multiple people with it. If you land all 3 shards on 2 opponents, you're getting a nice little freeze, which means you're also going to do more damage. Again, referring back to the passive from the auto attack, you're going to be doing more damage to opponents with your boosted auto attacks for a brief period of time after they're frozen. So once you've frozen an opponent, that's when you really want to go in, because you're really going to start doing extra damage. Not much, obviously. We saw the numbers on UniteDB. Again, shout out to UniteDB, always a great resource. It's not much, but it makes a difference, obviously, when you're a character like Swinub that really has to go in aggressively. So the next move is Tackle, and that is just a ranged dash. You can throw enemies, aka knock up, with this. You see here it's just a brief knock up, but it's really, really good. This is one of those moves where if you start casting and you flash, you can actually extend the range of your dash. Of course, we're not in range of this Apom here, but if we eject button in, we are in range with the Tackle. So that is just something you can do with Ice Shard Tackle. Let's move forward. Let's just evolve all the way up. And I'm going to start with Icicle, Crash, and High Horsepower. which is a very, very, very solid moveset. And I really can't decide which one I like the best, but this one's really cool. So Icicle Crash is basically just like an upgraded version of Ice Shard. You can see here that, you know, it's a giant shard that basically just lands on to wherever you target. And once the shard explodes, you can see the enemies are frozen, both the Rotom and the Slowbro, right? You can actually detonate that freeze early by high horsepowering or tackling into that area. And the nice thing about high horsepower is it actually does, I believe, more damage. Let's just confirm. The stomping deals increased damage to frozen Pokemon. So basically, like, you're charging to freeze this, right? And this stomp at the end, you see the Rotom still frozen. You're actually doing more damage with that high horsepower than you would. And it is a decent chunk more. This is really just a solid combo. Very easy combo to hit, I think. Like, it's just pretty straightforward. Just land Icicle Crash, land high horsepower, boom. And, I mean, they can flash out of your high horsepower pretty much before they're frozen. But the nice thing is when you charge into your Icicle Crash with tackle or high horsepower, they're frozen immediately. So they can't really get out once you've landed that. So it's a really solid combo. Not much in terms of like different sort of cool tech you can do with this. Obviously, if you flash with Icicle Crash, it's just going to land in the same direction. However, if you do this with high horsepower, it's the same as tackle. So it does extend high horsepower a little bit. So, for example, if you have to like kite back a little bit, but then you're like, oh, I want to go in. I mean, you want to do that the opposite direction, but yeah, so it's just something you could do. You can flash or use Eject Button, sorry, with high horsepower, but Icicle Crash doesn't work the same way. It's similar to Water Spout with Blastoise, like wherever you land the ground target, that's where it's going. It's not going to move. Okay, so moving on to Ice Fang and Earthquake, these are the other two options that you have to select. For Ice Fang, it is a pretty unique move. It's very short range, so you do have to be like, I mean, you basically have to just be like auto attacking. But what you can do is you hit them with Ice Fang, and then you can either put them in front of you, just drop them right back in front of you, or you can actually move the control stick to put them behind you. So very, very cool. This depends on basically where your joystick on the controller, or of course your little virtual joystick here on mobile is. So depending on which direction you point that is where you will drop whatever you Ice Fang. And then Earthquake is of course a pretty decently long ranged leap. You can see here you can actually go over walls with it. It's very, very good in my opinion. I think this is really just a super strong skill. And with Earthquake, the neat thing is that it basically pulls enemies towards you. So you can see this target dummy is just outside of my AoE range, but it's going to actually be pulled towards me, you see there. And it's not able to act, aka stunned, for a short time. So this is an incredibly powerful skill for engaging. You know, obviously something you can do is just like go in with Earthquake, Ice Fang in, and basically put them behind you to your team. You know, if your team's about here, ish, you know, you can jump in, aggressive, boom, and then drop them behind. But something very, very special that, again, we're finally here at the video, so shout outs to you if you stuck around for this long, is you can actually use Eject Button to increase the range of your pull. So, or not to increase the range of your pull, but basically increase the range of how far you can bring this enemy Pokemon to. If I actually come over here to the Slowbro and hit him with Ice Fang, oh, come back please. Okay, here he is. And I just want to throw him behind me, right? It's not a huge gap that he's actually, I mean, he's going from like here to like here, like an Eject Button's worth, right? However, there's a unique, like, weird little interaction you can do. Let me just kill these little bees real quick. There's a unique interaction you can do. If you actually hold the opposite direction of your joystick that you flash in, you will actually displace your enemy behind you. So what do I mean by that? You can see here, I'm going to hold right on the joystick while I'm doing this. So basically the combo is you hold right here and then you Eject Button back and you're still holding right. Like, I'm still walking to the right, but for some reason, this button combination makes it so when you flash, you actually put Slowbro behind you. So he ran away because he's scared of me, but we can just show it with the dummy here. Again, basically, you're holding the opposite direction of what you're going to use your Eject Button on. You use Ice Fang, you use Eject Button the opposite direction of the way you're holding, and then basically it puts them behind you. It's a very weird button combination, but once you get used to it, you will like, this is actually game changing. Okay, so little peek from the future, realizing that this is a lot harder to do on Switch. and a lot easier to do on mobile. So I wanted to kind of like show you guys how to do it. You actually have to like claw grip your controller though. It's pretty complex. So you have to obviously activate your ability here. Have your thumb on the control stick so you can choose the direction of your flash after you've activated Ice Fang. And then you, with your index finger, you have to hit flash. All while holding right on the control stick. So I genuinely feel bad. But yeah, it's a lot harder on Switch, unfortunately. So basically what you do is, I mean, it's the same movements. It just, unfortunately, it requires you to claw grip your controller. So let's see if I can even do it. You have to, I can barely even do it. You have to do this. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. There we go. And I accidentally activate my Unite move at the same time. So I mean, it works the other way around too, obviously. Let's boom, and then, oh gosh, it's so difficult on Switch actually. Wow. And you have to like constantly hold the opposite direction on your control stick. So like you're gonna have to teach your brain to like do this differently. I mean, if you want to do this on Switch, obviously, like you literally have to 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to have four fingers on different controls at the same time. So it's gonna take a bit of coordination. It's a lot easier to do this on mobile, unfortunately, but that's just how it goes. But you can do it. It's just like, I mean, this is the best way to do it. Like, this is how I have my controls laid out. Maybe it'd be easier if you have your buttons bound to different things. But yeah, this is just where I have my buttons bound. I think by default, Ice Fang is on the R button. I just have mine on ZR. But yeah, so anyway, sorry to the people who play on Switch. This combo is a lot harder to do, but with enough practice, I mean, you can just claw grip quickly. And I think if you want to play Mamoswine enough, like, you can figure this out. But yeah, sorry guys. Mobile supremacy, just kidding. Because this basically makes Eject Button a must take if you're going Ice Fang on Mamoswine, in my opinion. It's so strong to be able to get, like, I mean, what would normally just be like this amount of distance, to be able to extend it like all the way over here. I mean, this is from the middle of the goal essentially to your goal. Like, you can drop someone on your goal pretty much. Let's see if we can find this guy. So if we go here and we just put him here, I mean, he's pretty far away from where he was before. Obviously, it's not like amazing, but that's a decent, like, if someone's running away and your teammate, oh, I guess we killed him, rip. And your teammates are like needing to attack them, you just boom, you flash the person behind you, and this essentially allows you to really get a nice pick. This is like the better version of telekinesis, in my opinion. Like, this is what telekinesis should have been. You can see it's sometimes hard to land. But yeah, it's just really good. And another cool thing you can do is that, of course, whenever you drop Icicle Fang, that basically makes an AoE of frozen aura around your goal. So like, if if enemies are starting to score, boom, you just grab one, you flash. Oh, oops, I did it wrong. See, you can't, like, instinctively you want to actually like hold this direction and flash this way, but if you do that, you can see, like, it'll put them behind you. It'll put them exactly where they were before. So you actually have to like train your brain to say like, oh, we're going the opposite. Oh, okay. He's ulting me. You're going the opposite direction of like what you would actually think to do this button combination with, and then you'll be able to do it. So it's just such a really cool thing. And I'm so glad they added this, because I really think this is so cool. And you can see here the benefit of the frozen goal. I'm not sure why he's not scoring here. Why don't you just score? Hello? Okay. He's really just not wanting to score, is he? So let's see if he actually does a score. No. But essentially, like, whenever you hit a frozen ability, a ground targeted frozen ability on this goal, it will basically just make it harder for enemies to score. But anyway, that's like the combo. Obviously, Earthquake is a very good engage skill. But last but certainly not least, I want to talk about the Unite move. I don't think it's the most amazing Unite move, but, you know, it's decent. It's similar to, like, Mr. Mimes, where you're just, like, walking around doing a crap ton of damage. And obviously, it's a big knock-up at the end, similar to Blastoise. I mean, nothing really compares to Blastoise Unite move. It's just completely broken. But this is like it's like a nice runner-up, right? It's good for you to be tanky. Obviously, with this allows you to engage and quickly build up stacks of your passive, because each one of these attacks, 1, 2, 3, it builds up stacks on your passive. You can see down here at the bottom of the screen. I mean, it's just thick fat. Defense and special defense increase. It's a pretty short cooldown, so you want to definitely like make sure you're, you know, playing around it, and that you don't lose stacks of your passive, because this is what's really going to allow you to survive as Mamoswine. But essentially, like, that's the kit. It's really, it's honestly a lot more advanced than most defenders. So I'm really happy about that, honestly. I just think it's so, like, this whole Ice Fang combination you can do with Eject Button is really so cool. And it's a lot more replicable than like the telekinesis, oops, I messed it up. The telekinesis cheese, like, flash thing you can do with Eject Button. It's just way more consistent. It's way more impactful, in my opinion. And, you know, obviously you can't do it perfect every time, but you want to make sure you practice this. If you're a Mamoswine main, this is a combo you definitely need to know. Because this is just something that's really going to change the way you play with Ice Fang. Now, I don't know if Icicle Crash and High Horsepower is going to be the better move. I genuinely don't know. Generally, I would say, like, targeted, like, or ground targeted leaps like this are just super good as a defender, to be able to stun people, pull them into a nice AoE, and then just, like, do a bunch of damage in a concentrated area all at once and knock them up, right? I think it's really good. And obviously this will, I believe this slows Pokemon, increases their Reckless Rush's speed. Does it decrease movement speed with the ult? It does decrease their movement speed. So essentially, like, I think the Unite move works better with Earthquake than it does with High Horsepower, because, like, basically they're not going anywhere once you've hit your Unite move. They're just going to be slowed, and you're like, once you've pulled them into this concentrated area with Earthquake, you really just have free reign to get a massive knock up and a massive group damage stun there with the Unite move. So again, like, the Unite move for Mamoswine isn't incredible, and something you do definitely want to keep in mind is that, you know, if this is a Pokemon that evolves at level 10, that does automatically make it a little bit, you know, not as good as other Pokemon, just because level 10 is very difficult to get in some games. It's not something you can guarantee, and you want to be sure that, you know, if you're playing Mamoswine, you're really playing for level 10, because really your stats increase a lot once you evolve to Mamoswine, and you keep getting stronger throughout the game. I think Mamoswine is, I'm really curious to see how it kind of falls in, like, the more meta state of ranked, if this is played a bunch, or if it kind of ends up being a Garchomp Gardevoir situation, where unfortunately level 10 is just too high of a level to go without your Unite move for, like, that long into the game. So we'll just see, you know. Unique little thing here, I guess, to show is that if you actually throw a, you know, Icicle Crash onto enemies, you can see the Slowbro was also frozen. So that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it for the kit. I don't want to waste any more of you guys' time. Pretty much the only, like, true combo on this character you need to know is this Eject Button situation. So just, you know, be aware of the button, like, combinations I taught you. You're probably gonna have to practice it a bunch. I had to before I filmed this video. I was like, oh, this is really cool, but yeah, it's a little bit tough to do at first. But I mean, basically you hold the joystick in the opposite direction of where you're actually going. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was helpful to you. Let me know if it was. I think, you know, this is honestly a really fun character. I think it really has the potential to change up the game. I'm going to be playing it a lot just to limit test and see, you know, you lose. Yeah, thanks, Unite. To see what you can do with this character. I think it really has just a ton of potential. I'm just really curious to see if it's played a bunch, because, again, like I said, the level 10 evolutions in this game, they're just not played that much, frankly. Garchomp, and Gardevoir, they are great Pokemon, but they really fall short, and I think a lot of that is due to evolving at level 10. So just curious to see. Oh, there's the Darkrai music for you to close out the video. Yikes, kind of spooky. But yeah, so I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you want to see some Mamoswine gameplay. That should be coming pretty soon. I'm really just so excited to play this character. It's, you know, like I said, a lot out of my comfort zone as mainly an attacker player, but this is the type of defender that I really like. The aggressive one that just goes in and just does his stuff. I'm really hoping I can get some nice montage clips with the Ice Fang combo with Eject Button. We'll just see how it goes. So anyway, guys, let me know if you bought Mamoswine, if you plan on playing him, or if this video kind of helped you decide either way. So yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.